Hi, my name is William Schaeffer, and this is the second time I felt no pain. And this happened fairly recently, and I'll try and convey the whole story. There's a short story and a long story. Here's the short story. 3 years ago, I was on the set for Criminal Minds as a background actor, and we were shooting at Griffith Park, I believe. And I noticed that part of my lower abdomen was kind of soft. It's like there was I don't know how to describe it. Part of it was kind of bulging out. Well, so I went to the doctor, and it turns out I had a hernia, like an inguinal hernia. And I don't really know how to pronounce it. But it's a tear in the abdomen wall, and the intestine can come through, and it has to be repaired. And they repair it with some kind of a mesh. But if you don't fix it, apparently your intestine can get twisted, and then you can die of periodontal or infection. And it's pretty serious. It's a horrible way to die, I would think. So the short story is I had it diagnosed, I waited 2 months, and I had it fixed. Surprisingly, I don't want to cut right to the chase, but I'm going to, and then I'll tell you the long story. Surprisingly, the surgery itself was agonizing. Like, they strapped me on this thing, and then they put me out, and it was really unpleasant. But I woke, and I really was in no pain. I had vomiting from a bad reaction to the painkiller or the anesthesia, and I had to get anti-chemotherapy, anti-sickness drugs that they take for chemotherapy. But after 2 days of vomiting, I was fine, and I felt no pain and just a little discomfort. Now, what they actually did is they cut an incision 3 or 4 inches through my abdominal wall and inserted a mesh and then sewed me back up. And then they did it as outpatient surgery and sent me home. And when I went for my first follow-up with 2 or 3 other gentlemen that had surgery the same day, I just kind of innocently remarked, "Wow, I'm stunned. I just was in no pain at all." Apparently, it is very unusual that they have that kind of hernia surgery. You would really feel no pain. Now, when I was 11 years old, I had a varicocele, which is very similar. And I was an 11-year-old boy. And they told me I had to have a varicose vein removed from my testicle or something. And no one told me what was going on. No one at all. And they took me into the hospital on Monday morning. And then I awoke from surgery, and I was in pain. And it was on the other side, but I had a incision the same 4 inches long through the wall, the muscle wall of the abdomen, and it was extremely painful. And one curious thing about that, I was in the hospital for 5 days. I went in Monday and came out Friday. And this is a fact, and you can draw the conclusions that you wish from that. When I was an 11-year-old boy, my mother did not have a job. She had a car, and she did not come and visit me and did not call on the phone for the entire week. She did not send a card. Now, when I got out of surgery, she was there with my father, and then we went to my room, and then they left. And every day, on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday night, my father came by at 8:30 because visiting hours ended at 9. And I always look forward to his visit. Neither of my brothers visited or sent a card. On the second day, on Wednesday, my father bought a watch in the gift shop downstairs on his way upstairs at 8:30 p.m. Now, my father was a salesman that was in control of his own schedule. So he had timed it. So he had to leave, and we had dinner at 6 o'clock every night like clockwork. And he was done with dinner at 6:30, and then he waited till 8 o'clock and drove in his car, so he got there at 8:30, so he would really only have to spend a half an hour with me at the hospital. And that's the family I grew up in. Now, when I was discharged on Friday from abdominal surgery, where I got over 20 stitches, like 27 stitches, I counted them, my mother and father were both there. But once I went home, I was in pain for at least a month where I could not laugh. And I had an excuse from gym class for at least a month. But I don't remember anyone in my family ever inquiring how I was doing. Not once. Now, that was excruciatingly painful experience and the worst pain I had ever been in my life. And 50 years later, when I had a hernia on the other side of my abdomen and was anticipating the same type of surgery or similar surgery, I expected similar pain. In fact, I was scared because I could not really arrange for surgery right away. The first surgeon that I was given, and I have to say, Obamacare saved my life. My insurance was Obamacare, and if I did not have that, I probably would not have been able to schedule surgery. And Obamacare saved my life. And that was not the only time, but it's the only time I'm going to talk about now. And on my first Obamacare, I got a $7,000 colonoscopy. And if I had not known that you could get one for $1,800, then I would have gone ahead and done it. And it was a total ripoff, the way the medical establishment set me up for that. And I had to demand something more reasonable. So the second time around for my hernia surgery, it was not that case. I went with the first doctor, and they were very professional because I had requested a doctor that wasn't, the blue ribbon, upper class, expensive doctor. And he did a great job. But I had to wait 2.5 months before my surgery was scheduled, with a potentially life-threatening condition. And if I moved too much, I could make it worse enough that it would, get twisted and infected, and then I'd be in trouble. So what I did, even though I was feeling no pain at all, in fact, I noticed it was just kind of curious, and I was like, wow, something's kind of wrong here. Got to have it looked at. No pain at all at any time. I told my doctor I was in intense and excruciating pain, and I needed painkillers. And I needed strong painkillers if I was going to stand it. And so what I did was I put myself on a regime of painkillers so I could lay in bed and watch video and DVDs for 2 months so I would not move. And that's what I did. And I got my prescription renewed because I was in so much pain. And when I got an option to have my surgery moved up 2 weeks, I took it. And on 9/11, I had my hernia surgery. And when I awoke in the recovery room, I was sick to my stomach and I vomited for 2 days, and I felt like I was going to die from vomiting. But at no time was I in any pain from my surgery. I absolutely felt no pain at all. It was just kind of numb. Like when you get Novocaine at the dentist and your gum and lips are numb. And I literally felt no pain from that surgery at all, even though it was major abdominal surgery, the same size, at least, what would be 20 stitches long. But now they put a mesh in there, and the doctor did a great job. And if I had more presence of mind, I would recommend him right here. And the hospital I had it done at was in the Valley, and they were very professional, and I feel very lucky to have had that surgery completed as easily as I did. And the two things that stand out in my mind in that whole event, which was a lot more complicated, I think, than it really, really needed to be. One, Obamacare saved my life. I was not eligible for any kind of insurance that I could afford. Obamacare made it affordable, and in an emergency, I was able to get the surgery that saved my life without going to an emergency room, with it being too late and too critical. Secondly, I felt no pain. And that's not common for me. I'm usually kind of a big baby with pain. But on this occasion, I was dumbfounded. I've been in excruciating pain, and I felt no pain. And I told the doctor I thought it was because he was such a good doctor, and he laughed at that. But the other fellows that were in the recovery room, or the waiting room with me while we were at our follow-up visit, did not share that opinion. And they were kind of tough guys. And that was kind of funny. So anyway, this is a long, rambling story about abdominal surgery, and the second time I felt no pain. Thank you, and leave your comments below.